Minister, government policy needs to recognise, I think, the unique role that small farmers and producers who provide incredibly high quality food but are highly vulnerable to economic forces. And while I think we pay lip service to this model of agriculture, everything that's in that script there, the reality is that farmers are being forced into fewer and fewer areas, basically mainly dairy, because it's the only way to make their farms viable, and it's just so short-sighted. And I suppose crucially in terms of food security, greater diversity creates greater resilience. And then there's the additional benefits that you kind of touched on there, that it helps create produce that can be marketed and used to attract tourism. And I think West Cork is a really good example of what can be done. But this type of approach is actually at serious risk without any supports. And I think what we need to seriously look at, not just lip service, is a return to practical local processing facilities. Things like small abattoirs, and like you said, we need to look to other countries. Things like in France, the Rungus market in Paris, where producers can go and trade themselves, giving them greater control. And we can even look at like Irish examples of that, some of our farmers' markets.
Absolutely, thank you, Deputy. And look, I absolutely concur with all you've said, and I think the value of certainly of small food producers has maybe been ignored. And I think that's why we fought, to get that in the programme for government, that we would recognise that and do what we can to support local food producers. And indeed, having local access to food processing is one part of that. And I suppose we've seen over the last number of decades the demise of certainly even parts of rural Ireland in towns and villages who've lost their butcher and their greengrocer, and in years gone by their creameries, and I suppose reverse engineering back out of that is going to be difficult, but we absolutely need to do what we can to support, I think, those smaller local producers. Certainly we see, I visited a number of small producers who might have a micro dairy on their own farm, and they're able to pasteurise and bottle and maybe, sell from their farm gate as well, and that has proven to be quite lucrative for those. Certainly there are also excellent examples in terms of people direct selling their own meat as well. But again, I think we do absolutely need to be supporting them, and we are committed to supporting them.
Just in relation to small food producers, inshore fishers are important and often overlooked food producers, and they offer kind of guaranteed fresh fish, sustainably caught. It's the basics of the kind of unique culinary landscape in places like West Cork as well. One of the things that is really affecting them at the moment is rising fuel costs, having a severe impact on the inshore sector, and I know other countries are kind of supporting them specifically in terms of fuel. I'm just wondering if the department's looking at doing that. And then in relation to the seafood task force, they've called for increased processing capacity on offshore islands and major investment in public marine infrastructure, and it was great that that investment was secured through the Brexit fund. But you'd still need another 10 million annually for the next 4 years. So I'm just wondering if there's any clarification on how Budget 2023 would help to address that target. And then also, I think of major concern to the inshore sector and to many is the position on the forthcoming Common Agricultural Fisheries Policy, because it again favours the big players, and it didn't even pay lip service really to the inshore sector.
Thank you. Minister.
Sorry.
Minister, to conclude.
I might pass to my Senior Minister to answer.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thanks, Deputy Cairns. In relation to the fuel challenge that is there at the moment, so I had to put in place an extra 1-month tie-up scheme at the request of the sector to support the fuel challenge that's been there after the illegal invasion of Ukraine. That's been running from June until the end of November. I've been monitoring prices and fuel prices closely over the course of the summer. There's been a lot of volatility in it. They had dropped somewhat. They've been peaked in August and dropped somewhat since that, but they've increased again. So I am reassessing the situation with regard to the need for support. The European Commission have provided the capacity for Member States to use some of the funding in the EMFF for fuel support. If excuse me.
Just with the limited time on the common fisheries policy and the position that barely even it doesn't even really mention the inshore sector. It's all for the kind of bigger boats. That's obviously Ireland's position then going in to the negotiations at Europe, and I just...
Yes, so in relation to the common fishery policy then, a significant part of it is focused on quota species. A lot of the inshore sector is in non-quota species. The common fisheries policy itself deals significantly in relation to quota management.
Well, they're ripped
etc.
off with the mackerel quota, for example. Yeah.
Mm.